Okay, we are starting Saturday baseball a couple minutes before 9 because that's how we do it. We have a problem here with my tablet, so let me get this all situated while we wait for the sound. And I just want to say hi to everybody. It's Saturday Fantasy Baseball. Try to restart my... Okay, good. We got good stuff going on. Danny's always saying the volume is good, whether it is or not, but it really is today. So welcome aboard, everybody. It'll just be a minute till we get started, and let me pull up my notes again. Of course, right when I get ready to start the show, we have a problem.
Is it the 6th or the 7th?
I gotta get my notes on the right side. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me today. The world is on fire, but we come here to escape, and thank goodness for fantasy baseball. Thank you for joining us. Tommy Johnson's here, Boston Paul, Malpal, of course, the one and only legend Lenny is here. So Malpal here, James K here. We like to see you. Unholy. Whoop-de-doo, it's always a pleasure to see you on a Saturday morning. I don't usually expect you. I know you have other things, but thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to talk about Cody Bell. We're going to talk about not just Cody Bellinger. We're going to talk about the free agents for next year. We have a couple notes on each of the top 25 free agents next year, and of course, I will be giving you my input along the way. So which team do you think is going to advance from the League Division Series, the National League Division Series? There was a poll on Twitter. 71% of respondents say that the Dodgers are going to be the National League champions. I have to disagree, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I'm absolutely Atlanta Braves. 58% of the respondents say Atlanta Braves. This doesn't really make sense because how can it be 71% Dodgers and 58% Braves? It doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Craig Counsell coming to the Mets, maybe we will talk. I mean, should we talk about free agent managers and what it means for teams? That will have to be a different show from today. But we know that Sandy Alcantara, underwent Tommy John surgery. He will not pitch next season. This guy's a workhorse when he's healthy. He's obviously not going to pitch next year, but he will be ready to go 2025. He's pitched 200 innings 3 out of the last 4 seasons. So Alcantara won't pitch at all next year, but did have successful Tommy John surgery. Clayton Kershaw tonight. Again, we got 4 games today. We have Andrew Heaney. That's horrible. That's just a huge mistake. Where's SM King Turd to vouch for me on this one? Going against Kyle Bradish tonight. Bailey Ober makes his debut in the postseason against Verlander, probably the most experienced postseason starting pitcher in baseball at the moment. You also have Billy Suarez against Strider in Atlanta, and you have Arizona Merrill Kelly making his postseason debut against another veteran starting pitcher in Clayton Kershaw. We got Clayton Kershaw and Bobby Millers for games 1 and 2 for the Dodgers. They haven't announced who will pitch game 3 yet, but Lance Lynn is a strong possibility for game 3. Kyle Bradish will start game 1. Grayson Rodriguez, game 2. We don't know game 3 yet for the Orioles, but Brandon Hyde did say that Bradish 1 and Grayson Rodriguez 2. Kyle Bradish has a 2.83 ERA this season. He was the first qualified Orioles pitcher to finish a season with a sub-3 ERA since 1992. Is Eddie Heckman here? Yes, he is. Going to the game tonight, Eddie. Or maybe that's tomorrow. Clarify in the chat room. SM King Turd, great to have you. Your Texas Rangers in the playoffs still. We'll see how far they go. I can't believe... You don't have to post those, Danny. I just went through them, okay? They clog up the chat room big time. Haney has his moments, but not ideal. That said, he won't be any worse than Scherzer. I don't know about that. You could be right. We'll see what happens. Danny Fuller, Mr. Dodger fan, rooting for the O's. Why are you rooting for the O's? Well, probably because you're aware that the Dodgers aren't going to make it past Atlanta. So, we'll see what happens. But Merrill Kelly enters today's playoff matchup versus Danny's Dodgers with a career 0-11 record against them. That's the most career losses without a win against a single opponent entering a playoff start against that team all time. Kershaw, on the other hand, has 38 games of postseason experience. Merrill Kelly will be making his postseason debut. That's the second largest gap in postseason experience between opposing starting pitchers in a playoff series game, behind only one. Andy Pettitte faced Doug Fister in 2012. Andy Pettitte having 43 games of playoff experience, and Doug Fister only 4.
Mitchell is here. Leonard Donaldson.
Hello, Mitchell. Hello, Leonard Donaldson. It's a SM King Turd, Texas Ranger fan, says it's a challenging move. Wait, it's challenging to say Texas suck while cheering for Texas. That's true. Okay. All right. Well, I'm rooting for Texas. I know they probably won't win. How can you really think they're going to win with Andrew Haney pitching? We'll see. Anyway. Now, also, we have Verlander with 35 games of postseason experience. He's facing Bailey Ober, making his postseason debut, and that is going to be tied for the third longest gap. At 40 years old, almost 41 really, 40 years and 229 days, Verlander will be the third oldest pitcher to start his team's first game of a postseason run, younger than only Roger Clemens in 2004, who was 42 years old, and Dennis Martinez, who was 41 years in 1995. I talked yesterday, I made a comment about Verlander. I absolutely drafted him last year. Do I think it was a mistake? Maybe. I don't know if his team placement had more to do with his coming back from Tommy John. I mean, when I think about it, and it doesn't change how I feel about it. When you come back from Tommy John surgery as a pitcher, you're stronger than you've ever been in your life. You have to work your tail off to get back from Tommy John surgery, so it's not an easy feat. And yes, I know he's old, but he has a brand new elbow after that Tommy John surgery, and I thought, this guy, he was already impressive. You could see him working his way back, and he was doing excellent things, and I thought, this guy he's a veteran, he's a workhorse, he's got a brand new elbow. I drafted him where I should not have drafted him last year, but was it a mistake on my part, or was it happens? I mean, that's part of fantasy baseball. Will I make that mistake again, or will I have to make that mistake? Verlander is definitely not going to be as pricey as he has been. So his price will drop, and honestly, I'm thinking I might have to draft Verlander again this year, especially if his price is considerably lower than last year, because he's still a workhorse, he's still an excellent pitcher, and I agree with SM King Turd, who said he'd much rather have Verlander on his team than Scherzer headed into the playoffs. No offense to Scherzer either, by the way.
Merrill is here, and
I said hi to Merrill. Merrill and Mitchell. Hello, Hartsons. Good morning to King Hap. Boom to King Hap. Today will be Justin Verlander's 13th career start in Game 1 of a postseason round, breaking a tie with Jon Lester for the most in postseason history. Kershaw will make his 12th such start, tying Lester for second most. But Verlander ties Tom Glavine for second most career postseason starts in history, behind only Andy Pettitte. Bryce Harper slugged .499 this year, and the Atlanta Braves as a team slugged .501. You know, slugging percentage represents the total number of bases a player records per at-bat. And unlike on-base percentage, slugging percentage deals only with hits and does not include walks and hit by pitches in its equation. Bryce Harper, considering that, would be higher if they did consider walks. He's absolutely a walking maven. I don't know, I just made that up. Okay, anyway. Slugging percentage differs from batting average in that all hits are not valued equally. Chicago's an improving team and a great town. We're talking about the Cubbies. But who believes that Pete Alonso could go to the Cubs? That's the thing. I could tell you this. Alonso was not pleased about Buck Showalter getting fired. But we don't know. Will he stay with the Mets? I'd like to hear from the chat room. He just hired Scott Boras as his manager, so you can count these high contract successful pitchers on two hands. I mean, absolutely. We're going to talk about Ohtani, and he's the number one free agent, clearly. So if I'm going to talk about free agents, we have to mull over Ohtani. I had a conversation with Boston Paul that I'm going to include in the conversation. I don't agree with him, but I think that there's a lot of people out there that do agree with him, and it's all about getting everybody's opinion. You can form your own opinion based on your own opinion, but that's why we come here. We like to get input from all different types of people. So these long-term contracts for these pitchers are out of control, and I'm surprised they're still getting them, to be honest with you. I think the teams have cooled off on these long-term pitches. Not to bring up Bauer, but Bauer signed the first short-term contract, said, I don't want a long-term contract. I'd rather have a lot of money for a few years. Teams seem to like that too. I mean, you saw a couple other pitchers following along those same lines, and don't be surprised if you see it again. We're talking the best pitchers getting $35 million a year for the next couple years. That way, they are not stuck, and the team is not stuck. So you pay for short-term, high annual average salary contracts, and you're saving yourself a lot of trouble down the line when your pitcher is old and broken and you're still forking out millions and millions of dollars. So Alonso, back to Alonso. You know I'm a fan of Alonso. I probably disagree with most of the media on him. I don't think he's a clubhouse cancer. He still had a decent season, even though he took crap all year long from the Vultures. They don't like him because he disagrees with them and he doesn't take their crap. So, you know, that's what it's come to. The media is so sickening what they do. So you can count Votto out of the Hall of Fame because of it. You can count Alonso out of the popularity contest because of it. But I'll tell you what, Alonso's a great hitter and he's going to end up with a decent contract. He was not pleased with Buck Showalter's firing, and I definitely don't think he's going to be a Met again. I think he's done being a Met. But, you know, that's just my opinion. It's based on nothing, based on what everybody else has. But Scott Boras, all right, and Steve Cohen, they did make some huge agreements and contracts. Scherzer is represented by Scott Boras. Brandon Nimmo is represented by Scott Boras. And, of course, Carlos Correa is also represented by Scott Boras, and the Mets were willing. So the Mets can work with Scott Boras. A lot of these teams can. So we'll expect Pete Alonso to get some good money and continue to hit those bombs all around baseball. The Cubs, there's reports that the Cubbies are interested. I would like to hear what our resident Cubbies fan, Unholy Toledo, thinks of Pete Alonso coming to the Cubbies. It seems like they could use him. I would love for them to sign Pete Alonso. I would love for them to keep Cody Bellinger. We'll have to see it. The Mets have to pick up Brooks Raley's $6.5 million option. They need more lefties, not fewer. Adam Ottavino was non-committal when asked if he will pick up his $6.75 million option Do you really have to ask him, though, if he's going to accept it? I would say there's a pretty good chance he'll take the $6.75 million and continue. He also has $4 million deferred salary. He did suggest that he was leaning toward opting in. Now, Ohtani is a finalist for the Hank Aaron Award, which goes to the best hitter in each league. The winner will be announced during the World Series. Managers and GMs are made the scapegoats, but lots of times the ownership is responsible. Mitch Hartson says his information revealed that Mike Rizzo pleaded with the Nats ownership to avoid signing Strasburg for not more than 4 years, but Mark Lerner ordered he be signed for 7 years. And the thing is, would they have been able to sign Strasburg for not more than 4 years? Clearly, he was going to sign somewhere. When they did sign him for 7 years, he was still pretty good, right? I wonder if they could have even gotten him, for less than 7 years. So that's the thing. With Ohtani too, it's like, is he worth $500 million? I mean, that's going to be determined by what teams are willing to pay for him. He's going to go for whatever the going rate is, and it's going to cost a lot of money, whether he's worth it or not. You have to, you could say, I would really prefer to only have Ohtani for 5 years. But if another team is going to pay him for 10 years and you want him, you're going to have to fork over the money. It really comes down to what our team's willing to pay. Joey Votto, another favorite of mine, of course. He finished his 17th season with the Reds, and he says he wants to play another year. He played all 17 seasons in this team. He is a huge clubhouse guy, a big fan favorite. He wants to play another year. I think it would be great for the Reds to sign him for another year. It's not about fantasy, though. It's about keeping this veteran player with a great attitude and a good work ethic in the clubhouse to continue to be a mentor for these youngsters, these exciting youngsters, a whole bunch of them. You really do need to keep a couple of veteran guys around just to show them the ropes and to be there to mentor them along. And Votto, there's not very many better than Votto to do that. I'll tell you that much. And also, Votto, you talk about the fact that, yes, he's disappointing. He batted like 200 this year, okay? The last couple seasons, his batting average has been just abhorrent. But he still has over 300 on-base percentage the last 2 years. And he did hit 14 home runs in 208 at-bats. He only played in 85 games. If and don't expect him to be getting his 500, 600, 700 plate appearances again, but the point is, he doesn't have to play in that many games to be effective in what they need him for, and to sign him for another year. I think they'll do it. I hope they do it. I know King Turd loves the Reds right now. They're very exciting. So what do you think? Should the Reds sign him for another season? We got Boston Paul sitting at the airport. It's a beautiful day over there. It looks really good. There isn't enough space in the chat room to talk about the Padres contract screw-ups. All right, here we go. Let's get started on the free agents for next year. Shohei Ohtani, a two-way player, the most talented player in baseball history, will soon become its richest. I want input from you people today. I'm not joking. I want an interactive chat room with me on this. I'm not in this alone. I'm with you guys. I want to know, everybody, give your input on what you think about Ohtani. Will he become the richest player? I don't know. That's yet to be said. He will not pitch all next year. He underwent elbow surgery. He chose not to do Tommy John surgery, but please, do not forget, he already had Tommy John surgery when he got here. He missed a whole year already because of Tommy John surgery. Now has the same ligament screwed up. He's got a torn ulnar collateral ligament, which is the ligament that Tommy John is required to fix. Yet, he is absolutely not getting Tommy John. He got a different surgery. Now, everybody's expecting him to be the DH on opening day. Now, you saw what happened to Harper. look, Harper's one of the most consistent batters in baseball and has been, really. I mean, he comes back from Tommy John surgery. Really, we haven't seen anybody come back that early from Tommy John. He's a hitter, so he can come back quicker. But he struggled. He absolutely struggled. So this is really going to change. I mean, does this factor into these teams' idea of what is Ohtani worth? When he was healthy, the rumor was $600 million for this guy. Okay, $500 million for this guy. He's one of the best pitchers and one of the best hitters in baseball. Now he will not pitch for at least one of those seasons. He's only been in the country for 5 years. He's missed now. He will miss next year, and he already missed a year because of injury. He plays every single day. He hits as DH, and he pitches in the same game. It's absurd to think that this guy is not going to be short on mileage when he's done playing baseball. It's crazy to think that you're going to keep getting the same thing after year from this guy. And Boston Paul and we had a discussion this morning. He sends me this article about how the Red Sox could be the team to get Ohtani. King Hap, you want Ohtani to go to the Red Sox? I said, okay. One thing about that is the first thing I think of, the first thing that comes to mind is Boston can't compete with Ohtani. So spending $500 million on a guy that isn't even going to pitch next year is not going to make the Boston Red Sox a playoff contender. So it makes no sense to me why unless they're crazy active this offseason, they need a shortstop, they need more power, they need this, they definitely need pitching. So you're going to take a guy, pitching is probably the number one thing that they need. I just don't see Ohtani going to the Red Sox. This is just my first instinct, right? You can't decide where Ohtani's going to go. He's probably going to go where they're going to pay him the best, and rightfully so. But I think to myself, what is going to happen to his contract size because of this surgery? Because, look, you got a guy that's hitting and pitching every day. He's hitting every day, even when he's pitching. Boston Paul eventually decided that 500 is too much for him, and that they should give him, that he thinks he's worth 400 million or 350 million with incentives to reach 500 million. Incentives being the number of innings pitched. Okay, first he started out at 150 innings, and then we discussed that, and he said, okay, that's probably too many innings to expect out of him, so let's say if he pitches 100 innings. Well, what the hell good is that, 100 innings? Honestly, who cares? There's no possible way they're going to give him an extra $150 million for pitching 100 innings. It makes no sense. So, I don't know. Like I said, this is going to depend all on what these teams are willing to pay him. King Hap says, as a Red Sox fan, we only need 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pitcher in our rotation. It's hard to see where Ohtani goes or what he gets paid. Of course, Boston Paul is saying now that he didn't say 500. You did, but it's okay. We continued the conversation, and he went down to 380 million with incentives to reach 500 million. Danny says he's going to get no less than 550 million. Malpel says, who knows, maybe 500 million 5 years from now is deemed a bargain. Yeah, when our dollar's worth like a quarter, right? Because that's the road we're on. SM King Turd says it's an unpopular opinion, but he'd much rather have Juan Soto. King Hap says that Ohtani wants Lenny Melnick money. Anyways, he says basically Boston Paul would like to take Ohtani on. He's willing to, as a Red Sox fan, he says he's comfortable with 350 million, 380 to 400 million, with incentives to reach 500 million, 300 million guaranteed. I think he would take that? Probably not. I have no idea. Honestly, it's going to be very exciting to see what happens to him. But Boston Paul brought up TV revenue and fan base. I mean, the Red Sox don't have a problem with that to begin with. It's not like they still sell out, even though they're the worst team in the American League East. Fenway is still selling out, and people are still watching the Red Sox. I mean, they're kind of like the Yankees. The Yankees never sell out, by the way, because the tickets are too expensive. But Boston Paul also brought up how Manny Ramirez was paid $200 million in the 90s, but I think it was more like 2008 or something. Anyway, you got Ohtani. He's been in the majors since 2018. Or since 2017. He missed the first whole season with Tommy John. Plate appearances, 639 plate appearances, and 160 innings pitched. For the last 3 years, Ohtani's had at least 594 plate appearances. He bats at the top of the order, and yes, he's excellent. There's no doubt about it. He's got the most talent of anybody that we've seen. But I would say, if I'm a huge fan of a team, I'm telling them no thank you on Ohtani and his $500 million. Let's talk about another one. Japanese player Yoshinobu Yamamoto, free agent, hasn't signed yet, and he's a 5-time All-Star in Japan, a 3-time ERA champion, and a 2-time Triple Crown champion. Last year, he won the Pacific League's equivalents of the MVP and the Cy Young Awards. He might be the best pitcher in the world to have never suited up for an MLB team. He just celebrated his 25th birthday in August, and these talent scouts, they've raved to CBS Sports about Yamamoto for years. They talk about his high-grade command over a good arsenal as the most impressive part of his game. He throws a mid-90s fastball about half the time. The other half of the time, he throws a swing-and-miss splitter and a high-spin curveball. Each of those pitches went for a strike at least 65% of the time this past season, and that is huge. I mean, this guy strikes out batters like crazy. There's lots of precedent here to feel confident about this guy Yamamoto coming over and being a good asset. The thing is, anytime you have a pitcher coming over from Japan or any other country, it takes them a while to get culturally adept, and some of them do it quicker than others, but most of the time, these guys do not do what they did overseas. That's just the way it is. Tanaka got $155 million when he signed, and how good was he? How good was Daisuke Matsuzaka? These are just a couple that I could think of right off the bat that come to my head. But a lot of teams were out watching this guy's. A lot of teams. Cashman is one of them. He was sitting in the front row, so of course it got a lot of headlines. But there were employees from many teams in attendance to watch this guy. He could generate a bidding war this winter. I would say the Mets have a decent chance of getting this guy, you know. John Heyman, whether or not you want to believe anything that comes out of this guy's mouth, that's okay. We still talk about him. He says that what the word is going around in the Mets right now is that they might be the high bidders for Yamamoto. Every big market team has been tracking him, but a couple rival GMs say they hear the Mets are expected to go big. You can also expect the Yankees, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, the Phillies, the Giants, the Tigers, the Rangers. All of these teams have been scouting this guy. The Mets might be the ones willing to pay. They paid $75 million for Kodai Senga, and he was excellent. He actually lost money when he was signed because there was an MRI that was reported that said it was a little iffy, so he probably lost money on that. But Yamamoto, the World Baseball Classic Japan number 4 starter, he gets top marks for mound presence, which consists of, his poise on the mound, his command, his competitiveness. Anyway, he doesn't throw quite as hard as Senga. And to me, that's a plus. I don't want anybody, I just don't put a lot in these high 90s pitchers because they are just so much more likely to hurt themselves. He doesn't throw as hard as Senga. He's 5'10". They question whether or not he's tall enough to be effective. I would say, you never know. Anyways, Yamamoto or Blake Snell, right? Which one of these two would you choose? Yamamoto is 25 years old. He has no draft pick attached to him. So, teams will be incentivized by that. One rival GM thinks he could go for as much as $200 million. The Mets may be the team to beat for Yamamoto. Cody Bellinger, the number 3 free agent next year. He produced big numbers this past season. I love Cody Bellinger. We talked about Bellinger a lot. He was in the conversation with Yelich a lot because we couldn't figure out what the hell is going on with these guys. They just weren't hitting, but we know they can. He did excellent this year. He brought his strikeout rate back down to where it was prior to 2021 because even in 2020, his strikeout percentage was 17.3. Now it's a career best 15.6. Now, mind you, he played for the Dodgers the whole time before he went to the Cubbies. I don't know if moving and getting a fresh atmosphere or whatever, but his strikeout percentage is right back down to where it should be. And his contact rate, career high contact this year, 82.6%.
J.R. Matz.
Hello, J.R. Matz. Wonderful to see you with Moose, Danny, and Mikey. Hope all is going well in the J.R. Matz household. He's 28 years old. He enjoyed a resurgent year with an 881 OPS, 26 homers, 20 steals, and a 97 RBI season in 130 games. He's likely to decline his $12 million mutual option, but we'll see. I'll tell you what, he began his career. He won 2019 MVP for the National League. But this year, of course, now Unholy, how much you willing to pay for this guy? You want to keep him. He's a great fit for the Mets. Or the Cubbies. I'm sorry. He's a great fit for the Cubbies. And nobody can deny it, okay? Now, some of the writers out there are saying that his ball tracking data does not align with what he did. Basically, that he produced big numbers despite so-so ball tracking data. I don't know what they're talking about, but I could care less. What I look at his strikeout percentage, look at his contact rate, look at whether or not he takes a walk. Those 3 things are huge, and that's what I look at. So you could talk about all this other nonsense with the formulas and his batting metrics. I just, look, can he get up to the plate and get on base? Can he stop striking out so much? Yes.
White Sox gal, Chris from Cambridge.
Hello, White Sox gal. Great to see you. Chris from Cambridge. Great to see you. We're talking now about number 4. Matt Chapman, elite defensive third baseman with big power. There's some questions about his hitting tool, but none we can't discuss right here and get it all out of the way. Look, his batting average has been horrific over his career. This past season, his batting average was .240, which is used to not be acceptable in the game of baseball, but now it is. It's absolutely not bad. It's not good. You'd rather have him in an on-base percentage league where his on-base percentage is .330, and it's over .300 the past 3 years in a row. So Matt Chapman in on-base percentage leagues is excellent. He is going to hit some decent home runs. Although, what happened to his home run power this year? Because he only hit 17 and he had a 509 at bats, and that was a huge drop in power. So One thing, we know he's going to get a job. He did not hit lefties at all this season. Or no, he didn't hit right-handed batters very good. He batted .223 against righties and .307 against lefties. So is this guy going to turn out to be some kind of split hitter? He can't hit elevated pitchers. So you know these pitchers have figured this out. And that's why he has a well below average in-zone contact rate. He also struggles, like I said, against right-handed pitchers this year. And over his career, he's struggled against both, but mostly right-handed pitchers, and the majority of pitchers in baseball are right-handed. He's streaky. I mean, his April OPS was nearly higher than the sum of his May and June OPS. But the defense is going to get him a job. Somebody's going to take the plunge on Matt Chapman. We are pretty sure he can deliver a few more years of well above average play, but please, buddy, get your hits up. Get your home runs up back to what they were, because the difference between 17 and 27 home runs is a big deal in fantasy. Let's talk about number 5, Aaron Nola. All right, we're still talking pitching in the chat room. Yeah, Matt Chapman played with dollar signs in his eyes. Why didn't he hit more homers then? Eovaldi's the best pitcher that's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. Danny says Bueller will be just fine. Of course, because he's a Dodger, right? Holy moly. We should, anyway, let's talk about Nola. His ERA is not steady, okay? Every other year, he has an ERA above 4, it seems like. I mean, this is going back to 2020, where he had a 3.28. Then in 21, he had a 4.63 ERA. 22, he had a 3.25 ERA. And this year, a 4.46. But his whip is always good. He's never... Since 2016, his K per 9 is always above 9. Again, this year, it's above 9. Strikes out a decent amount of batters. Absolutely. His ground ball percentage is not horrible. 42.6%. But this guy is a freaking workhorse, okay? For the past 6 years, not including 2020, which was a shortened season, but if you averaged it out into a full season, it would count this for 2022, which 220 strikeouts, 230 strikeouts, 202 strikeouts. This guy is a workhorse. He was 30 this year, so he'll be 31 coming. But I will tell you what, I would sign Nola over Snell every single day of the week. We have with Aaron Nola walking, and this is high for him, 2 batters per 9. He walks 2 batters per 9. Compare that to Blake Snell, who walks 5 batters per 9. No doubt about it. Nola is a better pitcher, and we'll see what happens with where these guys, because Blake Snell is on my list too. He's coming up next, and Malpal might argue with me about Blake Snell. He will argue that Blake Snell does make a decent amount of starts. He might not go into the 6th inning much, but he still makes a good amount of starts. He stayed healthy this year. The only thing that there is no excuse for is Blake Snell's walk rate. It's absolutely abhorrent. I don't know how his whip isn't higher, but it means that he's not giving up any hits because he's walking so many batters. He's not giving up hits, and that's the thing about Blake Snell. But Nola's ERA has bobbed up and down over the last handful of seasons. He strikes out batters, and he's a workhorse, meaning he never hits the injured list. He's only hit the injured list 1 time since 2018. Now let's talk about Blake Snell. You guys can hear my bias. I realize I'm biased over here, okay? I have my own personal opinions of these pitchers, and I will not be drafting Blake Snell, no doubt about it. Bad command, but look at, first time he hit 200 strikeouts since 2018 this year, and he only threw 180 pitches. He only allowed 115 hits, which is exactly why his ERA and his whip are so excellent. There's no knocking his ability to, and the hard hit against Blake Snell is surprisingly low. When they do make contact, they don't hit the ball hard. He threw fewer than 60% strikes this season, and his walk rate was nearly one of the 20 highest posted by a starting pitcher in the expansion era. But fewer than 1/3 of his secondary pitches were located within the zone. However, that doesn't matter because people swing at them. Hold on, I gotta make sure my phone is charging. I got 20% of power left and I'm getting warning signs. All right, we're charging up now. He's still coercing people to swing whether his strikes are going in the zone or not. He started 30 or more games. He did clear 100. It's only the second time in his career that he started 30 or more games. Still. And the second time in his career that he's cleared 140 innings. So we'll see what happens with him, but I will give him this. He's never, ever lacked the ability to strike out batters, ever. But his walk rate has been horrific. The last 3 years, he's been steadily going down here. His FIP is 3.43 and his ERA is 2.25. So take all of the formulas that you want. The FIP will help you learn, and I don't trust him for next year, not one bit. 86.7% left on base percentage. That's something that you would find from a closer, and it's still high, even for a closer. He is getting lucky with his ERA, and it's clear in his FIP and his left on base percentage. So I know that a lot of you will disagree, and that's good. Eduardo Rodriguez, number 7 free agent. Rodriguez, he denied being traded. He enacted his no trade clause when they tried to trade him to the Dodgers, what could arguably say was one of the best teams in baseball, maybe the best team, depending on if you're Dodger Danny or not. He's still, basically, you know what you're getting. This guy, a middle of the rotation pitcher. But he did have 2 kind of weird seasons, in Detroit. He pitched for Boston all of his career until Detroit. In 2022, he went to Detroit, and he's pitched there the last 2 years. The first year he was there, he had a 4.05 ERA. This past season, 3.30. Excellent 3.30 ERA. Struck out 143 in 152 innings. Made 26 starts. And allowed 128 hits in 152 innings. So, we like to compare hits with innings pitched. And anytime the hits are lower than innings pitched, that's a good sign to me. Eduardo Rodriguez walked half the number of batters that Snell does as far as walks per 9, 2.8 walks per 9. His 3.30 ERA is backed up by his fielding independent percentage. So he did throw, he had improved velocity. It went up about a half a mile per hour, and he still is missing bats. He's looking good. He shuffled his arsenal. He ditched his sinker to lean more heavily on a 3-pitch mix that includes his low 90s four-seam fastball, a cutter that he can command to both sides of the plate, and a changeup that led the way in strikeouts. He's going to turn 31 in April. You guys like Eduardo Rodriguez for next season? How much are we paying for Eduardo? Lucas Giolito, what do we think of him? Lucas Giolito pitched for 3 teams this past season: Cleveland, the White Sox, and the Angels. 184 innings pitched, 4.88 ERA to top off what he did last year. His ERA was 4.90 in 161 innings. 2 years of an ERA, almost 5. What are we going to do about Giolito? He was absolutely horrible after he went to the Angels, so let's just pretend that, even if we took his stats from before he went to the Angels, they were better. Still, his season, very disappointing. I might take a chance on this guy next year. I still think he's got something in the tank. He's 29 years old this year. He was he'll be 29. He was 28 this year. Still strikes out a lot of batters. Striking out batters is not his problem. 204 strikeouts, this past season. So I still think I'm taking a chance on this guy. next year because I could see something good happening with a new change of scenery. I don't know. His contract isn't going to be great depending on where he goes, but this could be a big difference maker for him. He used his fastball less and less often as the season went on. He leaned more on his back-spinning changeup in response to his bout with gopheritis. He's on the bright side of 30. He isn't far removed from receiving Cy Young Award consideration in 3 consecutive seasons, not just once. So teams will be talking, about whether or not they should consider him a rebound candidate. He did have 2 straight bad seasons. Still.
Yeah.
Hello, Big Al. Great to see you. And King Turd brings up something that's relevant, that Giolito went through a really bad divorce, and that can affect things too, for sure. I love this one, tidbit by Unholy. The only pitcher in Major League Baseball history to give up 8 runs in a game for 3 different teams in the same season. That's pretty funny.
Julia.
Hello, Big Al. Great to see you, my friend. What do you think? Are the Mets going to... who are we talking about going to the Mets? Alonso. What's going to happen with Alonso, Big Al? I can't ask Laura because she's taking care of her mom right now, but she's our other Mets fan. Jordan Montgomery. What do you think of him? Number 9 free agent. Jordan Montgomery. Pretty... I guess he's not exciting, okay? Nobody really looks forward to watching him, but he's reliable and he could really be part of something good. I think that Montgomery is pretty good. We'll see where he goes in drafts, but you're going to have to be, flexible. He's got good control and durability, and he's because of that, he's had 3 consecutive decent seasons. ERA 3.20 this year. 166 strikeouts in 188 innings, 177 hits allowed. But even before this past season, 3.83 ERA, a 3.48 ERA, and now a 3.20 ERA. He gets better by the season. We also have a look at his number of walks. He hardly walks anybody. This guy, it's half of what Snell, again, 2.29. He also hardly ever allows home runs, a .86 home runs per 9. That's the best ever in his career so far. 43% ground balls and 21% strikeouts. His fielding independent percentage is always right in line with his ERA, so there's no questioning what this guy can do. He's been a good workhorse for the past few seasons. Last year he's 188 innings. You can expect him to go another 200 innings, and he's played for 3 teams in the past 2 years, but he's good everywhere. I like Montgomery. I don't know where he's going to go in drafts yet, but it'll be interesting to see if you can get him affordable or not, just because he really isn't that exciting and people don't talk about him that much. Kershaw started today. What do you think, Danny? Same old person, right? Which isn't a bad thing. He's a highly effective starter. Yes, he has a drop in his fastball velocity, but who cares if he drops in fastball velocity, because this guy's effective no matter what. He's definitely not going to be expected to get 200 innings next year, and he's not going to take the ball every time through the rotation, nor is he going to lead a staff in innings pitched. But he has started 22 or 23 games in each of the last 3 seasons, and he hasn't cleared 140 innings since 2019. Still, a 2.46 ERA, a 106 whip, 24 starts. Kershaw is what he is. I want him to go to Texas. He's got a home there. His family likes it there. Everything's good. I hope he goes to Texas. Bring on Kershaw to the Rangers. Although, I won't be surprised, Danny, if he stays with the Dodgers. Huge part of the Dodgers. Number 11 free agent. Unholy. Okay. Yes, he's a class act on and off the field. Absolutely. Yell at the landscaper, says Lenny. What are you trying to egg people on to be like you? Nobody could be like you, that's right. Kevin Kiermaier, outstanding defender. Do we have questions about his health or his bat? I would say this. the main drawbacks to his game are the same every year. He's certain to miss games because he's always missed games, and he is getting into his mid-30s. Right now he's going to be 34 going into next season. And he did have 370 at-bats, but every year he spends time off the field. This past season at age 33, he tied for the most number of games that he played in since 2014. 129 games is about his max. He stole 14 bases this year. Can you expect a career-high stolen bases again going into next season with a 34-year-old player? It's almost impossible to expect that, although at 33, you don't typically see guys getting their career-high number in stolen bases. His on-base percentage rules, .322 on-base percentage, decent batting average. His biggest asset for free agency is his defense. We have a 76% contact rate, which is running right. It's improving. All right, it's not his career high, but 76% contact rate, a 21% strikeout rate, which went down 6 percentage points, which is good, 408 plate appearances, and he chases 31.9% of the time. What are we doing with Kevin Kiermaier? I would say he's going to get in the lineup every day, and a big thing with fantasy is whether or not a guy is going to get in the lineup every day. His defense will probably get him in the lineup, and it will get him a contract. Sonny Gray. I think I like Sonny Gray. I really like Sonny Gray, especially after I looked at Sonny Gray's numbers this morning. Didn't really pay a lot of attention to him. I knew he was having a good season. He is turning 34 this offseason, and they talk about the fact that he doesn't throw hard like it's a downside, and I would say absolutely not. I love Zach Gallen. He's got a low 90s fastball. You're going to stay healthier with a low 90s fastball. Gray doesn't throw hard. He is going to turn 34, but since 2019, Sonny Gray has posted a better ERA plus than Luis Castillo, Zach Gallen, Zach Wheeler, and many others who are held in higher public regard. He could be in line to receive a deal similar to Chris Bassett, who signed a 3-year, $63 million contract. You see these pitchers are signing shorter contracts. Sonny Gray, excellent. I'll tell you what, his strikeouts went down a tiny bit, but they're sitting right at 9 per 9 2 years in a row. Before that, it was actually over 10. He only walks 2.6 batters per 9 innings. His home runs are at a measly .39 home runs per 9. Last year, .83 home runs per 9. This guy hardly ever gives up home runs. Now, the question to that is, where's he going to go? That could change depending on what ballpark he's in, but he has managed a 47.3% ground ball rate along with a 24.3% strikeout rate. This is absolutely wonderful. 47% ground ball rate means no matter where he goes and how far the walls are, it doesn't matter because he probably won't be giving up home runs no matter where it is. Unless they send him to Colorado, of course, which the air makes it easier. But like I said, 47% ground ball rate, super low walk rate. I will tell you, I think that he might be my favorite pitcher going into next season. And that's because I don't think he's going to be drafted next to Strider and Snell. Rhys Hoskins, he missed the whole season, all right, with injuries. Now we're only going to get through a couple more of these, but I'll do more of these next week, and we'll do more tidbits. I actually did 25 of these guys this morning, so I'm completely ready, but we like to stop the podcast after an hour. I really appreciate everybody in the chat room today just chiming in, and yes, Dick Butkus passed away. That's the first thing I think of when I hear Dick Butkus is Chicago Bears. I think of the Chicago Bears.
Okay, everybody does.
And it's not because I don't even remember him playing. I just remember him being a coach. Mm-hmm. I remember the refrigerator Perry.
Yep.
Okay, Rhys Hoskins missed all the season. what are we going to do with him? He is a free agent. Will he sign? We don't know. He had a torn ACL back in March. He's amassed a 120 OPS plus or better in 5 of his 6 seasons, but he's a right-handed batter at playing first base. He is on the wrong side of 30. His age... Do I have his stats in here? I guess I skipped his stats. I figured I have enough in his notes here. Teams they're trying to compare him to Jose Abreu. I don't compare him to Jose Abreu at all, but Abreu is significantly older than Hoskins. And between the injury and the market's tepidness for this type of hitter, Hoskins could be a reasonable candidate to accept a qualifying offer from Philly. I think he will. Josh Hader is a free agent, the best reliever on the open market. Got that crazy oddball sinker. What do you think, Malpal? Should Preller and the Padres sign this guy again, or where is Hader going? His sinker is odd because he throws it with a standard grip, but it possesses the backspin of a four-seam fastball. His sinker led the majors in induced vertical break, despite him releasing the ball several inches lower than anyone else in the top 10, which creates an optical illusion that batters have not been able to solve on a consistent basis. All right, we like Hader. Nobody can disagree with me that he's one of the best closers, right? But how much is he going? And would you like to sign him again? Boston needs him, that's for sure. Leonard Donaldson, welcome aboard, my friend. He says that he thinks that Hader will re-sign with the Padres. I think Malpal disappeared. Hey, Tina. Oh, good. Malpal's here. Maybe I got his attention. Okay. All right. One more. Jung-Hoo Lee is a center fielder. I think he's Korean. His secondary and bat-to-ball skills are MLB ready. He fractured his ankle in July. It ended his season and hindered his ability to further audition for MLB scouts, but he's regarded as a plus runner and a plus defender. He's demonstrated bat-to-ball skills. He had a 91% contact rate this season, including a 97% contact rate against fastballs, according to CBS. He's not a big-time slugger. 23 of his 65 career home runs came in 2022. And teams always have concerns about how KBO hitters will fare against MLB pitching, but we do have a couple of success stories, and one of them is Ha-Seong Kim, which is Lee's former teammate. So we'll see what teams are willing to pay for this. Should we do one more?
That's it. I think you did great. Time is...
Lenny's cutting me off. Do you have anything to add, Leonard?
No, I think you did a fantastic job.
Okay. No, thanks to a guy who refuses to pitch outside the 9th inning. He says Hader refuses to pitch anything but the 9th inning. Boston Paul, thanks. Unholy, we love to see you. Thanks so much. It's great to have you aboard. I say don't yell at the landscapers like Lenny does, but you'll do what you'll do, right? All right. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Lady and the Legend. What are we going to do tomorrow, Leonard?
We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to talk about the games today, right?
Yep,
and we'll have a whole slew of new stuff.
Everything new.
Everything new. Enjoy your day. Enjoy baseball. See you later.